Hey BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for a book tag. A particular tag that everybody does every year, called the Mid-Year Freakout tag. Sorry, uploading videos is giving me trouble, so I'm doing this a little at the last minute, but, hopefully I won't have problems this time. Although, I haven't been lucky in that department, so I probably will. Knock on wood that I don't. Okay, so you guys know the drill. Update you guys on how my reading is going so far via this tag. Okay, so question number 1. Best book of the year so far. And I decided to, this is actually kind of a hard one, I admit. In all honesty, there has been one oh my god, this is the best book ever. I mean, I'm enjoying my reading. I love all the books I've read so far. And there are some that I've been, super excited about. But there's never been one that I'm drooling over because it's the best book. But I ended up picking one, and it's one that I don't have because I listened to it on my, on Libby, and that was Cinderella is Dead by Kalynn Bayron. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but it is basically it's kind of Cinderella retelling, but it's after the events of Fairy Tale, 500 years later. I don't even know if it's 500 years later. It's just, for some reason, that's the number that pops in my head whenever I talk about that book, and maybe it is. And in the kingdom of where Cinderella lived, now it's mandatory that every young woman attends this big ball run by the king, and they are essentially auctioned off to the men that attend. And men can attend anytime they want, but women, they have to attend at least 3 times, and if they don't get picked by their 3rd time, they are known as a spinster or whatever. And our main character, Sophie, is tired of that, because not only does she not want to be auctioned off, she wants to choose the person she marries, the person she loves, but also she is queer. She is in love with a woman, and her best friend Aaron, but because Aaron is terrified of what the king would do, she refuses to go against the king's rules. So Sophie, during a disastrous experience at one of her balls, her first one I think, she runs away and ends up finding out there's more to the story than what the king has told them. And this was just such a fun spin on the Cinderella story. I know that Cinderella along with Beauty and the Beast, is one that's retold millions of times. But I think you should give this one a chance. It does a little bit of a difference, but it's not even technically a retelling, or it is and it isn't. The Cinderella story happened and takes place after the Cinderella story, so it's like a new take on it, but it's not Cinderella. It's not someone who's supposed to be Cinderella. It's this girl that's fighting back against the Cinderella fairy, and it kind of turns on its head a little bit. And it's kind of scary in a way. Not scary there's monsters. It's there's a creepy fact. I felt this creepy factor when I was reading it. It was kind of eerie. And I was very nervous for Sophie. And it's also nice that there's some LGBTQ rep. There's queer rep in it. And also, it wasn't just the main character or a side character. It was also one of the friends that she makes in the story. One of her friends in the story that she makes in the story is also queer. So I think that it's great representation, and it's I said, it's a fun, interesting spin on the story. And I'm glad I read it. I don't read a lot of romance. I read books that have romance in it, but not necessarily the central plot point. Except, granted, yes, I read Jane Austen. Which one of her books is on this is an answer for one of these questions. But it's not my go-to genre. I will read some, but not a lot. And this is one of the ones I'm glad I read. I had really a lot of fun with it. And like I said, I think it's a new, interesting spin on the Cinderella story. Okay, so question number 2 is best sequel, and I picked this one. So I read the first book also this year. This is actually, it originally was a trilogy, but then it became a series. I think I imagine a lot of you would recognize the author, Jonathan Straub, because I think he's written other books as well that aren't just middle grade. This is a middle grade, although it's kind of going to young adult territory. It's kind of doing the thing that Harry Potter did, where it's aging with its audience, I think. The first book is about Nathan, this young boy, Nathan, who is apprenticed to be a magician, or a wizard. So, I think they call them magicians in this world. And a long time ago, he was humiliated when he was a kid. A few years ago, he was humiliated by his master and his master's friend, and he wants revenge. So he works really hard to become even better, despite his master still continuously bullies him and still thinks he's incompetent. And the final phase in his revenge plan is he summons this djinn, Bartemius, to help him get revenge and make the magician who humiliated him, make him look bad and expose him for the criminal he is. And this is so much fun. I enjoyed the first book and I enjoyed the second book. The second book got even more deeper into this world. We got a little bit more world building in this one, and it got a little bit of, it kind of reminded me of Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus, or I guess now it's Captain America and the Winter Soldier. That a similar kind of plot. And I like Nathaniel, you think is going to start out where he becomes a hero and stuff, and he learns to be a good guy, but in this second book, he's going deeper and deeper into an antagonistic territory. And also, I love Bartemius. We also get his character, and he's a great character, but I'll talk more about him in another question. And also, it's really cool that the author has footnotes in this one, which has to do with Bartemius' character. I know not everybody likes reading footnotes, but this book isn't as long as, like, say, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, that has footnotes. It's not, and I think it's more action-packed than that book, although I haven't read the whole thing, but I've read a good amount of it. And also, we're kind of exploring more of the Middle East area. Like, I read a lot of European fiction, and I love it, but I definitely like when I do find books that explore more of the different parts of the world, and this one, like I said, is exploring the Middle East with jinn and stuff, which you don't hear a lot about the jinn. I've only heard, which the jinn are essentially like genies, but a lot more sinister than the Disney version. So I think that's really cool. Like, the first time I heard about jinn was on the show Supernatural, where there's been a few episodes where they've encountered jinn. The boys have encountered jinn. In their version of, in the mythology of jinn, they will grant you your deepest wish, but then you're slowly losing your life force in the process as they give you that. Now this one is a little more like the Disney version of, like, the genie, where they're tricksters, and it's not as scary as Supernatural, but it's still kind of a little bit darker. And it's just, this trilogy is so fun. I'm glad I'm trying to with my series and stuff, I'm trying to not wait too long to read the next book in series. So this is fun. This is a fun little middle grade. Question number 3 is new releases that you have not read yet. And I picked books that I actually have in my possession. What's this one? Oh, wait. Oh, that's right. Sorry, I had to double check something. Okay, so the 2 new releases I haven't read that I have in my possession are these two, The Chosen and the Beautiful, and Rule of Wolves. And now this one is the kind of an origin story of Jordan Baker from The Great Gatsby. She is a character that is friends with Daisy, and her and our narrator, whose name escaped, Nick Carraway, kind of date for a little bit, but it doesn't work out because he, thinks she's no better than the rest of the rich and the snobs of the world. She's a golfer, she's a pro golfer, and she kind of is the one who introduces him to Gatsby. And this is kind of her story of her backstory, because we don't know a lot about her in the original novel. And because of that, the author was able to, I think, get a little more experimental with her character, especially now that it's free reign with The Great Gatsby. You can do any retelling you want with The Great Gatsby without having to get permission. I can't think of what term that is. Olive from Book Olive did a video where she shared that information about how now Great Gatsby is, the copyright is no longer, you don't have to get permission to do retellings or do books like this. Or even, I'm sure the movie people, the two movies, they had to get permission to adapt it. So one of the things they did is they made Jordan, she's Asian in this one. I don't think she was meant to be Asian originally, but they now have made her Asian. And I also, The Great Gatsby is one of my favorite classics, so, and it's not that long of a book. Like, I'm trying to not buy hardback books and just, get them for Christmas. Like this one, I got this one for Christmas, or actually, no, I got this one this year for my birthday. But this is not that big. It's not that thick of a book, so figured it'd be okay to make an exception. And then the other one is Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the King of Scars duology, so it's the final book, which is about Nikolai, my precious Nikolai, one of my favorite characters. But it's also about Zoya and Nina, and I'm assuming they'll all come together. And one of the criticisms that they brought back a character that I've kind of talked about before, I didn't have a problem with that because I thought it made the most sense. Since it's a duology, there's not going to be any more books, so it would be weird to all of a sudden introduce a new character. It would be, I think it would be a little, especially because this new character is going to be this character is going to be important in this one as well. I get it. People want new stuff. They want a new character. They want a new character. They don't want to revisit the same one. But I think it made the most sense that character reappeared. Because I personally think it would be just weird if all of a sudden, especially because the role that character plays is playing in this one as well. It's the same kind of role as they play in their original appearance. I'm trying not to spoil it if you have not read the duology. And I don't care because I love getting Nikolai's story. I ship Nikolai and Zoya, by the way. I also like that this one, you can take out the dust jacket and you get this beautiful thing on it. I love that. Which actually this one can apply. I might show this one and another one to my, for one of the questions on here. But I love that because my thing of why I don't ever take off a dust jacket, even though I'm starting to get why people are annoyed by dust jackets and don't take them off, is because I don't like a blank cover. I don't like a blank naked hardback. I want there to be a design on it that you can actually see, not just a design, but you can't see it because you have to look really close. I want something that you can see that has a nice visual on it when you take off the dust jacket, and I love that about that. Okay, so question number 4. Okay, this is one where I don't have the books, but that makes sense because these are new releases. What's the most anticipated release of the second half of the year. So I didn't find, okay, so I tried to limit myself to only a handful, only a few. Okay, so first, and these are just, I just like literally just looked them up, and they sounded really engaging, the description of them. So first one is a nonfiction called An Ugly Truth Inside Facebook's Battle for Domination. And that's kind of, and I thought it would be really interesting because it looks at Facebook and all its flaws, and how people have these conspiracies that Facebook is involved with a lot of the things that are going on in the world, and Facebook is not that innocent in it. And I'm just saying conspiracy for sake of argument, so don't yell at me like it's true, okay? Because I'm just saying it to talk about it. Okay, so just for the sake of argument. And I just thought that it sounded kind of interesting. It would be interesting to read about. I mean, I just picked the ones that I thought sounded interesting, so I don't know if I'll get around to it or not. But, because these are not books, there's only a couple on here that I'm actually super excited and I'm going to want to get my hands on as soon as I see them. But that is by Shira Frankel and Cecilia Fang, and that comes out July 13th if you're interested. Okay, and then Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. I don't know. I remember hearing about that one. I just looked at the description. I can't remember. See, this shows I literally just saw these and looked at them. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. I think this is also a nonfiction. And I do not know where the two women are from. Actually, no, it might be fiction. And these two women bring the Grey Wolf back to the Scottish Highlands or something. Like the Grey Wolf is they reintroduce it or something along those lines. So if you like wolves, you might find that really interesting. I do love wolves, so and that is coming out August 3rd. And then last but not least is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. So this takes place, it's not exactly what I was hoping for, which is a prequel about this character. But this takes place in the same world with different than Caraval, where this young woman, the love of her life, is about to marry another woman, and she makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts. So it's takes place in the same world, and it still involves the Prince of Hearts. And at first, I was like, oh, it's finally what I wanted, which is an origin story of the Prince of Hearts. But nope, it's not. But it does involve him, and maybe it happened before Caraval, or after Caraval. I do not know, but and that comes out September 28th. But either way, because it's in the world of Caraval, I definitely am interested in it. And it also involves the Prince of Hearts character, where I think he was a great antagonist. He's scary, and what he did to one of our main characters is, I hated him for that. But that does not mean they're not a great antagonist. He was so scary and terrifying, so I love the idea of a story with him in it. Next, question number 5, biggest disappointment, and I still have it, and that is this one, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. This was so boring. I thought it was going to be more exciting. I still have not watched the adaptation, but I do want to, and I'm assuming it's on Disney Plus because it was adapted by Disney. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. This is a French professor. When he comes home, he hears about this supposedly a narwhal attacking running into all these ships and causing chaos in the European oceans. So he and his servant, Concel, decide to join a crew and explore and try to check out and find this narwhal and get rid of it. But after being ended up almost drowning in the ocean, they get rescued. What they think is the narwhal, but turns out the narwhal, is actually an a submarine led by the infamous Captain Nemo. I get him mixed up with the guy from the captain from Moby Dick. And they are prisoners of Captain Nemo's, but he get to explore the sea along with him. And the professor is probably the only one who's actually enjoying himself. The other two, his servant also is cool with the situation. And it's all about them exploring the ocean. And meanwhile, our other character, this Canadian harpooner that is with them as a prisoner as well, is not so keen on this adventure and wants to escape. He's not into the idea of exploring the ocean as the professor is. And he never forgets their prisoners, essentially. And that makes sense. Like, I liked it, but it was kind of boring at the same time. Not a lot was going on. Like, there wasn't a lot of action. And it was mostly talking about explaining a lot of nautical things, and just, not a lot was going on, basically. I mean, the characters they were potentially interesting, but there wasn't a lot of moments to really explore these characters for me. Now, like I said, I'm keeping it because, one, this is really beautiful and I feel guilt, and yes, I'm just as shallow as everybody else. This is really beautiful, and then also, my oldest nephew, he kind of likes exploring the ocean and stuff like that, at least now anyway, so who knows, maybe when he gets a little bit older and he's old enough to read something like this, he might want to read this, so I'm keeping it. And it's not that long of a book, it's just kind of boring at times, so it might seem longer because of that, because it's tedious, but, it was, like, it had potential, but it just wasn't, the potential wasn't fulfilled for me. And that's why I'm very apprehensive. I want to read some of his other books, but I'm apprehensive about it. And the problem is my library does not have, it only has 2 of his books, this one, and then Journey to the Center of the Earth, but it's an abridged version, and I don't want to read the abridged version. I want to read the whole story, but do I want to buy it? But I mean, the only other option is I could check and see if it's on Libby, a different version, an unabridged version, to see if I like some of his other stuff. But yeah, okay. So next question. Okay, so next question, that was question number 5. Question number 6. Biggest surprise. Okay. And I have 2. And that's these 2. Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevens, and The Gates of Rome by Con Ildugan. Still do not know how to say his last name. I remember I started reading Treasure Island, and I ended up DNFing the first time. But I didn't totally dismiss it, because I did like pirates. Mainly because of Pirates of the Caribbean. So I was like, I want to give it another shot at some point. So it was in the back of my mind. So finally I rebought it, because I put my mass market copy in the donation pile. And I finally got it. I finally decided to buy this edition. I think it helped getting one this size, so it would be more comfortable to read. I mean, mass markets aren't as bad as like hardbacks as far as comfort goes. But, the print is minuscule, and they're more fragile. And I just kind of like reading these size books. But this is one of the first pirate stories. It's so fun, and, there were aspects of it I wasn't happy with. Like, I wish they explored more of John Silver's, relationship with Jim Hawkins, our main character. Like, I wish we got more development, of that, like they do in the adaptations. And like I said, I think it suffered from I saw the adaptation. I got exposed to the adaptations first before I read the book, so I was used to what was in the adaptations, and then you read it and it's not the same. Which I know the old adage is the book is better than the movie, but sometimes the movies are a little more accessible. And for me, I'm a visual person, and I like, and I like the idea of hearing actors and getting the action, seeing the action, like it being right there, and not just reading the words on the page and trying to imagine it. But I still love this book. And I still enjoyed it. It's a favorite for me. And I think, again, another book that I would love to read to my nephews one day. Like, I think they would enjoy it. Although it might be a good idea to start with the abridged Illustrated Classics just to introduce them to it, and then get this one, and then this one. Or if they could one day, if they see it on my shelf while visiting me, maybe they'll pick it up. But it's just it was so fun, and I love Long John Silver's character. He's so fun and funny, and just he's charming and charismatic. And I love those characters that are antagonistic, but they can be really charming and charismatic. To the point of like sometimes you know that it's like, uh-oh, I'm in danger. Like, you're so appealing, but I know you're bad. I shouldn't trust you. That's probably why I like characters like Loki and Spike. Because, and even Angelus from Buffy, I also kind of liked him better than Angel at times. His characters are just fun. He was fun and charming, but he had a soft side for Jim, which I liked. And also I like that it's first person narration of Jim, because it makes it more relatable to us, because he kind of represents us, the reader. Because like most people that are reading this are young boys and young girls. Although the target audience is probably young boys, because it's pirates, so they assume back then girls wouldn't be interested. But nowadays girls are more like, I can like boy stuff too, just because it's not just a boy. Pirates aren't just for boys. And I say another reason why it's a surprise is because I was disappointed by Jekyll and Hyde, which I could put that one on this list as well. Jekyll and Hyde, which I still have the book, so I could show it to you. That was another disappointment. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, because I was just expecting it to have more oomph to it, and it was basically like the narrators were people that weren't even in the action. They were just, hearing about it, or they might catch a glimpse of Mr. Hyde, but then that was it. There was, it's like basically them reading, it's like as if they were reading someone's journal, or, someone's talking about reading someone's journal or diary of the events, but they're just reading the events. They weren't actually there or reading the newspaper article. So that was disappointing. But this one was not. Like I said, there were aspects that I was disappointed, but mostly overall this book was great. I loved it, and I was very pleasantly surprised by it. And then the other one is Gates of Rome. And I just, for some reason, I had this spur of the moment idea of reading books about Rome, like fiction that took place in Rome. I was definitely interested in the emperors and the Caesars, all the Caesars of Rome, especially, the most famous one, Julius Caesar. And this is his origin story done in a fictional way, where Julius Caesar and Brutus, although he's not Brutus, in that you don't know he's Brutus until the very end, which I guess I shouldn't tell you, that kind of spoils it a little bit. But I think most people will, if you know your history and know about Rome, then you probably can safely assume. And it's about them as boys, and, their experiences and how they end up in the city of Rome, and how he slowly becomes he becomes the general and then emperor, and what Brutus's origins are, what happens to him and stuff. and it was really fun and interesting, and which it has inspired me to get Mary Beard's PSRQ, the ancient history of Rome. I got that nonfiction, and I think I got one more Rome related book somewhere. But it's very interesting, this learning about the city and its downfall. And also, Caligula sounds really interesting too, especially because he was batshit crazy. I might want to read some about him a little bit at some point. But yeah, so I was surprised, but I mean, I like this, and it wasn't that hard to read. The other books in the series, my other copies of the rest of the series might be a little bit harder, but this one was not. Which actually will be applying to one of the questions on here as well. Okay, so next question is favorite new to be author. I don't have any books to show you, but I said Leo Tolstoy. I've read some of his work, a little bit more of his work now. I'm really loving it. He is a classic Russian author. I know some of his both his most famous works, and Anna Karenina and War and Peace, are big books. They're tomes. So I did start both of them, but I'm not done with them yet. I don't know if I'll finish them or not. But I also read a collection of folk tales that were retold by him, and of course translated because he's, called Three Simple Men and Other Folk Tales. And they are like reading fairy tales or something like Aesop's Fables, with spiritual undertones. Like, he does not like the church. He does not like how the church ran things, and how the church was like, you have to do it this way. He was more very spiritual. He had faith. He believed in God, which I think, that's why there's a difference to me between religion and spiritualism. I think you can believe in God and have spirit and have faith and be very spiritual, because there's so many different religions out there. Then they're still spiritual, and I still think they have faith in what they believe in. But I think religion is, organized religion. It's all about how you do what you believe in, what is the true belief, what is the right belief, I should say. That's what religion is. It's all about controlling and telling people how to do it, how to believe. And I don't like that any more than Tolstoy does. And now I'm not as active about it. My disagreement with it, because to me it's I'm not as close to the more negative aspects as Tolstoy was. But I really like those. There's only 3 stories, so I think there's plenty more he's rewritten, but this one only had 3 of them. The Three Simple Men, which is about 3 men on an island, and these priests who are passing by come to the island and decide to teach them how the right way to pray. And then there's one story, I don't remember. The other 2 stories had longer titles that I do not remember. But the second one is about a young man who was visiting his godfather, and he was told not to open this particular door, and he does, and he sees evil being done. And his godfather's like, okay, well, now that you've seen it, you've been exposed to it, now you have to go out to the world and find a way to fight it. Because unfortunately, evil is out there, And he comes across this con man or a criminal or whatever, and he tries to tell him to renounce his evil ways. And then we have the other one, and then the last story is about these people that were friends that are all of a sudden, after a misunderstanding, there is a few develops between them, which gets just bigger and bigger, the point of their enemies now. And the family patriarch, or one of the families, is like, this is wrong, you have to stop this, you have to forgive each other and let go of your anger, because it's just going to escalate, and and there's going to be regrets. So they're all just really good, and I think there are stories that you can read to your kids. Although you gotta be wary of the second one, because the second one, there's a little bit of murder involved in the second one. And also the artwork is so beautiful. Like, there's a lot of artwork in there in this my particular edition. And I know that my mom is always saying, if you want to get the kids a book, you gotta make sure it has pictures in it for the kids to look at. And that copy of that book does have pictures in it. So yeah, and then I read the Death of Ivan Ilyich with one of the other stories in that, one or two of the other stories in my copy of that. I really like, I'm surprised because, when I picked up going from Tolstoy and then reading from Dostoevsky and then Tolstoy, I realized the Russian is not that hard to read translated. It's just the names. The names, you kind of stumble on the names because they say the whole name, both the first and the middle name, and it's just very stressful because, especially if you're American English and you don't know how to pronounce it. And my dad has been to Russia, so he knows a little bit about it, but he doesn't know I can't keep asking him. Okay, and then the other author I said was Kazuo Ishiguro. I've only read one so far, and I just fell in love with him. That was Never Let Me Go. I do want to read more of his work, and I have attempted a couple times to pick up Claire on the Sun, but I haven't yet. So I really like his writing and his stories so far, at least from Never Let Me Go, so I want to pick up something else by him. So this is no guarantee, but at the moment I like him. Okay, so next is, those are the two new to me authors. Newest fictional question number 8 is newest fictional crush. Don't have one, I know, but I'm one of those people who doesn't have one. Newest favorite character. Okay, this is where I'm going to talk about Bartemius. Bartemius. Oh, I love Bartemius. He's snarky and sassy, and he's powerful. He's one of those guys that, is powerful, but there are going to be people that are more powerful than him. He's a trickster. He's kind of like Loki. He makes me think of Loki. Like a cross between Loki and Beetlejuice. He's charming, is charismatic, he's a trickster, but he's clever, but he also does have a heart, and he's just funny and snarky and sassy and stuff, and yeah, some of his opinions about humans I gotta admit, as a human, maybe this shows that I'm getting to the story, I'm like, okay, we're not that bad. And I also, like I said, the author Jonathan Stroud's footnotes, which are basically his Bartemius' thoughts, which he continued in this second one. And I love his, even though he pretends not to care, I think he does care about Nathan and wants him to do better, because he wants Nathan to prove he's better. But unfortunately, Nathan is just proving once again he's just like everybody, all the other magicians. But I just love Bartemius' character, he's so much fun, he would be cool to hang out with. I think a lot of people would like him. Okay, so next question is book that made you cry. I've said this before, I do not cry during books. I'm more prone to cry during a movie or a TV show than a book. And even then I have to be paying complete attention, because now over the years I've gotten the habit of multitasking when I'm watching a movie or a TV show. I can't cry because I need the visuals, and I need to hear, not just in my head, but out loud, the voice of the character and all that. So I don't cry during books. Okay, and then a book that made you happy, and this is a reread because, the first time I listened to it on Libby, so I finally bought it, and that is Emma. I just love Emma, I know not everybody loves her, and even Jane Austen herself said when she published this that Emma is a character that only she could love, and I think that's totally wrong. I think a lot of people love Emma. This is about a young woman who is rich, spoiled, and vain, and decides to play matchmaker with her friends, and it does not necessarily go that well. And there are a lot of misunderstandings, like most of Jane Austen's books, like all of Jane Austen's books, and it's a bit of a fluffy romance. It's Emma's journey, her to growing up and maturing, and it's just charming and sweet. It just made me happy. Jane Austen's books just make you happy, when you read them, I think. And I love these editions. So there's that, and that's the book that made me happy. Okay, next question number Okay, a most beautiful book, and I just went ahead and said, Pachinko by Min-Jin Lee. This is a Korean book set during World War II when Japan was taken over. Japan was like Germany, essentially, during this time, and that's why they teamed up, probably. And it's about this family, this one particular family, this one woman's mistake of her getting, having a love affair with a married man, not realizing he's married, and then finding out when she tells him she's pregnant. And it's about her trying to making the decision to walk away and not be with this man, but the father of her child still plays a role in her life, in her child's life, because he doesn't want it. It's his child, it's his son. Especially because it's a boy. It's not. If it was a girl, it'd probably be a totally different story for him. And she agrees to marry this sickly but kind priest, and it's all about their struggles and the boys, her two sons, because she ends up having two sons growing up, and the struggles they face during this time, and the prejudice they experience, and the hate they experience. It's just this beautiful journey, and I love this cover. I like how the setting itself plays into her kimono, and it's so beautiful. And it's nice that the sticker is like right here and not like around here, or not down here. And it's beautiful, and it's also it's, there's a person on there, obviously, but it's not like, there's no face or anything. It's so beautiful. It's like a painting, and then and I also was gonna say, I think Rule of Wolves is a beautiful cover as well, especially the naked hardback, with this engraved design, silver design. I think that's beautiful. But I appreciate that. Like, I'm cool with taking off the dust jacket. Like, if I take it with me to the pool, which is another one that I need to read. So yeah, I think that those are the two beautiful book covers. And then last but not least is need to read by the end of the year, and I have a lot. I couldn't narrow it down. I need to read Dead House Gaze, the second book, but not before I read this one, The Great Hunt, especially because this one is going to be a series on Amazon, I think. And this is the second one in Malazan Book of the Fallen. I don't want to fall behind in this series. The good news is all the books are out. It's an old series, so don't worry about that. And then this is the latest Jane Austen that I haven't read. Well, I haven't read Lady Susan yet, but it's Northanger Abbey. I was tempted to buy another copy of it the other day when I went to the roast office, but I'm sticking with this copy. So I need these three. I need to finally read a Ken Follett book. And I figured I'd start with this one because it's not as obnoxiously big as Fall of Giants, Pillars of the Earth. It's about the building of a church, a cathedral. And I've read a little bit more the other day. I brought it with me to the pool, and I just had these. I bought Ken Follett books when I first moved here, so I need to read them, and I have not picked them up yet, and I don't want to give up because they're historical fiction, and I do love historical fiction. So that one, Clockmaker's Daughter. This is the latest Kate Morton book, and I want to get to this before she publishes another book. My original intention was to reread some of her other books first, but I've had this book for like 2 years now, and I need to finally pick it up. So instead, I'm just gonna pick it up before the end of the year. I like the silhouette. I like covers that have silhouettes. But I love Kate Morton. And then this is another fantasy series I need to read. I need to finally read this one. I've had this one again. This is another one where I've had before. I think when we first moved here, the Rhaenyra Revelations I loved the first volume. It was really fun, so I need to read the second one soon. I need to finally pick up the second book, this second volume, because again, it's another one that I don't want it to fall behind. And then here is Death of Kings, the sequel to Gates of Rome, the second book in the series. I want to pick this up because, again, a lot of these books, it's because I've had them for a long time, and some of them are part of series, and I don't want to make the same mistake I've made for years, which is take forever to read a series, especially when I have the other books in the series. So this is the sequel. I promise obviously it's gonna pick up where the first book left off. So that one. And then these last three. This is Howard's End is by First Ian Forster. I have not started it yet, but I got it last Christmas. So I finally need to read it. I want to read it because I don't want to wait, I don't want it to be sitting on there on my shelf for a long time. I want to finally pick it up. And then I want to watch the adaptation at some point. I don't know if it's ever going to be on Netflix by the time I finish the book, but I would like to, or I might, put it on my Amazon wish list. Because I'll probably like it either way. I mean, I'm not that hard to please. Okay, and then I said Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. So, this is one I listened to originally on the Libby app, but, I've said this before, that it was long, and I wanted to take my time with it, because I only have the books, I get the audiobooks for like a week. If I get an ebook, I have it for 2 weeks. But if it's an audiobook, then I only have it for a week. Which is annoying because I don't drive, so it's not like I'm listening to them all the time. And I don't want to listen to it while I'm running. Because then I feel like I'm definitely not absorbed in the story if I'm listening to it while I'm running. So of course people say, well, that's your fault. We're not going to change it because, but I feel, to me, it's not fair that we only get a week with audiobooks, but I can't change it, so, but I really loved it, what I heard of it so far, and I've gotten up to chapter 6, and it's just, I love Laszlo Strain's character, he's such a sweetie. I mean, if I had to pick up, going back to the fictional crush question, I would probably say Laszlo, but I haven't finished the book, so I feel like I can't really fairly count it. And the last one is Stephen King's Lizzie story. This one's kind of a last-minute decision because I was in the mood to buy a Stephen King book. The last few times I've been to BAM, and I decided to pick up this one because this one is going to be adapted, or it's already adapted, starring Julianne Moore. And it kind of explores grief a little bit. I like stories. I like how Stephen King's novels a lot. He has quite a few novels that kind of explore grief in a supernatural way. So I want to get to that one. And then there's also one of the other books I recently bought from BAM that I want to get to this year is Deborah Harkness's, still on my shelf. I discovered Witches, which is a series. I think it has 4 books. So I want to get to that one too, as well. But I'm trying to limit myself because there are a lot of books I need to get to this year. Okay, so that is the Mid-Year Freakout Tag 2001 edition. If you guys are interested, feel free to do this tag. I know will be July in like a few days, but who cares? I think it's a really fun tag to introduce, to tell people how your reading is going, in a way, like in a small way. So, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification if you want to be notified when I post new videos. Hopefully I won't be having problems uploading again. And I hope you are staying safe, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!